alike. I've got an interesting stream today. Always up to something. But if I've misled anybody by my thumbnail, these are the engines I'm talking about. I was playing. So, what I'm gonna do today is I've got a long piece of lumber and I want to put my kayak trailer together with my kayak, and I'm gonna make a push stick. So when I walk to the lake, there's some really long, mile long steep hills, and I was using my kayak paddle to push everything with while my kayak was tied to the trailer, right? So I don't really like the idea of using my paddle because I don't want to break it on the way to the lake. So I'm going to take this long piece of wood that's about the same length of my paddle, and I'm going to turn it into a giant push stick or a handle so my motors can keep this El Machina Machino running. So stick with me and we'll get started real soon. Hey, welcome to the stream today. I'm going to show y'all what this is all about. So, first and foremost, everybody knows that I built this rolling cart to hold my kayak to the lake, right? So, it's a quick demonstration for new subscribers that may not seen the shorts or the videos. So how this works, and even if my kayak's really heavy, I want to scoot off to the linoleum here. Hold on a second. So how this works when I'm by myself is real easy. So I just take my kayak and throw it up on top of my cart, right? But there we go, about. And it is designed to where it nestles really nicely into there. Oops, and we got it. Caught up on my strap. And so let me move that out of the way. That's just my dashboard. And get these straps up here. Okay. Now we can move forward with this. Literally. I don't like having my kayak in the studio area, you know, because I've been cutting a bunch of glass there. So, first thing I got to do just to get started is get this strapped into place real good, because I'm going to need it to hold tight for a minute, right? So we're just about ready. It's all a bunch of preparation work. I should have done this all ahead of time, but I thought for the demonstration. And so how I've designed this cart, these straps lock in on the coping around the kayak. And because it's carved underneath to be the shape of my kayak bottom, it all locks into place real nicely, right? So, when I'm walking to the lake, the first time I used it, I hadn't really thought about it much, right? And so I came upon my first big downhill, and I had to tie a strap onto the back so I could hold it from rolling down the hill too fast. And then I hadn't really thought about it before I built this cart and when I left home. But halfway there on my first adventure, I thought, well, I'll put my paddle together, and I've got like this has got like a really cool dashboard where, you know, there's space in here where I can connect the paddle, right? So then once I realized I could do that, and that worked real nicely, I was using my paddle to push this whole deal uphill, right? And so it became real easy because I wasn't going to walk all the way to the lake pushing on the back of it like this, right? So this is a really strong paddle, and I can put a lot of weight on it. You know, you're getting stuck in the mud and getting buried in the mud. But I really don't want to be in a position to have to use that for the handle to push this whole apparatus. I'd rather have that, you know, that's an expensive fiberglass paddle, and I don't want to use it like that. So today, I'm going to have all my stuff in my kayak all laid out on my bed. So the chore for today is it a push stick? Hold on a second. I'm going to do y'all a favor. Blinko, Waco. And now, is it a push stick? No. It's a drive shaft with more torque and more power. So, we're going to be hooking this up today so I can push my boat with a random piece of wood that I don't really mind getting messed up. So, now I'm going to shape this into a nice rounded off end on this end. My life jacket's kind of in the way, you can't really see that well. So now that so then at this end, where it hooks in, I've got, oh, where'd it go? Oop, I buried it somewhere. Hold on. I thought it was right there. Oh, there it is. So, and then for this end, I've just got a little piece of padding, and I'm going to widen that edge out and make it fit really well at this end. And then I'm going to carve kind of a nice smoothed off rounded handle and put some tape grip on the other end. And I'll have me a nice personalized drive shaft that works with this setup. And then this would be something, you know, I just leave on the shoreline, but I don't want to use my paddle to push my kayak to the lake. So I'm kind of stuck with this concept of needing to do this. So, all right, anyways. So what I want to do is make that just a little bit wider. I'm going to cut this down. Just want it a little bit wider, but not too much. I want to have a nice trapezoidal shape on there, just so it'll all lock together. And I mean, this is real redneck engineering. It's not really that big of a deal. I question whether I really need to do this or not. And you know, it is what it is. I think I would rather have a giant push stick than to have break my paddle on the way to the lake, right? So welcome, welcome. This is the solution. This is the drive shaft. This is the push stick. This is what's going to make it easier. All right, now that we got that started, just kind of got that locked into place. And I might. Did I tape the? I sure did, guys. I'm so glad there's only a few people here because I sure did. I put tape on the wrong piece. That was for the other end. That's for my hand. All right, that looks a little smarter. Had this nice trapezoidal shape. That looks a little better. And honestly, let me do this. Make life easy on myself. Try to save a little tape, huh? Just want that on there real good and tight. And then I'm going to wrap it around a couple of times. Hold on a second. I'm struggling with that. Yeah. The other side down as tight as I can go. Now, if that'll hold for just a second, I'm going to do one quick wrap around to lock it in place. Engineering. Yes, sir. This is what it takes to be me. Y'all don't want to be me, I guarantee you. Being me comes with a lot of extra work sometimes. All right. So now I want to match this fit. And it's pretty close, but it's a little too tight, right? So what I want, see, that might actually be good, but what I want is a nice little wedge shape there. And I want to make sure that when I'm plowing a bunch of power onto it, that it really holds on, right? I think that will. Make sure that doesn't slip out of there before I continue on. Yeah, that's pretty good. Ugh. Oh, running into the table. Hold on. All right, there we go. Yeah. All right. So I like the way that works down at that end. I think that's going to be real nice. At just about at any angle now that I've got that foam on there, I'm able to articulate at any angle I like. So let me lock that in place because that's a good idea. Oh. I like that little hold your tape for a second trick. Whoa, trying to fly off of there. All right. I'm going to go around that one more time. Get that all locked into place real good. And we're going to come over cross fade ways. You know you boys like to get cross faded. There's your cross fade for you. Alright. So now I've got a nice little cushioned stick. And I'll be able to push this uphill a lot easier. So now I'm just going to round off a little bit of this end down here. Oops. So, and in all honesty, I may still yet end up just using my paddle. But the last couple weeks, and since I walked to the lake last time, I just kept thinking, man, I really don't want to break my paddle. I don't want to hurt it and F it up. So I guess I'm just OCD obsessively into this project now. So the next thing I wanted to do was just on the end here where my handhold is. I just wanted to reshape that and smooth it down a little bit. And I'm going to keep that real simple, real straightforward, real redneck, right? So just going to chisel off a little bit there. Right, all I want to do is round this off just a little bit. It's not that big of a deal. At least I didn't plan on making a big deal out of it. But let me get some tools to work with here. Alright. There we go. So now down here at the hand end, I want to take these rough corners off. And just preparing, this will be the first step in rounding this out and making it into a more comfortable handle. That's all we're doing. So I want to mark a width here. So well, basically maybe from about there down I'll do that. Okay. So we'll get these ones started again. We'll go up a little higher. I'll put this in a clamp in a minute. Right now I'm just kind of knocking the edges off. It's not that big of a deal. Except for making it twice as hard to do it without clamping it into place, right? But I want to rotate it a bunch. Alright, we're going to clamp this into place. Alright. Well, clamp it into place. And I used to have a really nice draw knife, you know, where you could just shave wood off. But I don't have that kind of stuff no more. We're dealing with some old school methods now. just want a nice rounded off edge is all I'm looking for here. So I'm using this razor as a draw knife. Just taking little tiny bits at a time. Nice, smooth, easy. Getting a nice rounded shape. No power tools were harmed in the making of this engine. Alright, so let's get back up here to my height. And so you'll be able to see, just use it, you know, people are all strung out about different kind of tools, but look, this is just an old crappy razor knife. Now granted, this just is some old a pine 1x3, but you can still use a razor knife like a draw knife if you ain't scared of it. Because all I'm really doing is getting some initial rounding off, right? We're not doing no major construction here. We're just making a handle. Just making life easier for my old hands is all we're doing. So we'll flip this over in a minute, and we're just about ready to continue that curve onto the other side. Take a little bit more down on this side. Doesn't want to bite in there. So once you get about to the half of your width, that's when you're ready to flip it over. But now remember, I'm a little guy and I've got small hands. So this is a custom handle for me. And if I was making it for your hands, I'd need to see them. But real quickly, if you notice, I'll work my way back down this side. That upper edge off there. And you just keep hitting the high spots, and you keep the thought of a curve in your mind. You don't get caught up into every little grain. You got to keep in mind the overall, right? And so that right there is really nice on top. And now I want to round it off at the end this way. So we're going to come at this, probably want to go ahead and use maybe something smaller for this spot. I don't know. Let me try this. Because now I'm cutting at the cross angle, and I might need something a little tougher. So let me grab this. Now, just because I ain't using power tools don't mean I can't use power tools accessories. So, because this is a cross grain on the end, I'm just going to go through here and start slotting it down. And then we'll come back in and we'll chip away at that edge and we'll have a nice rounded. I mean, this is just some hillbilly construction. I don't really care how the professionals do it. This is just how I'm doing it. It's just all this cross-grain cutting. And it'd just be easier to do this if I had a power sander. I'd be powering that around. Oh, let me get this out of the way. All right. There we go. Get you down lower to the action there. So what I'm trying to explain is here on the end, the grain is going this way. So cutting across it is a lot harder than carving this shape coming this way, right? So because I'm doing this by hand and because I'm limited, my toolbox is really mainly for small projects. And I've got power tools. There's no need for it. I'm having fun. But, so I'm just kind of, I invent my own methods. I don't know how other people do it. So now I got a bunch of this notched out and I can come back in, get around these knots. Let me go ahead and scoot this down and get it a little bit more stable on the vise. Now we're going to get this just a little bit more stable on the vise, and unfortunately we're going to use some better tools. So we just want to knock that top edge off. But it's cross grain. There we go. We'll get through the worst of that real quick. Shrink that down a little. Okay. Now I've got something I can work with a little bit better. So, where is get my hack knife on the edge here, and we can clean all that debris up. This is just a little chisel knife on the end is all that is. It's something made so you could hammer on it real good on the backside. Alright, come back over here. This side's nasty. Alright. Yeah, this end grain's a lot harder to mess with, but we're getting her done. Actually, now I think I'm at a point where I can start. I gotta move this vise again. Need a little bit more space to work with. Alright. Now we've got a good start on a more rounded edge right there. Man, I'm just going to have to go for it, guys. I was trying not to, but this is getting old too quick. We're just going to attack it the way I should have in the first place. Make life easy on myself. But like I said, all I'm trying to do is kind of round this off. Right? So, you'd be surprised how with just a few minutes and the right angle on things, now we're starting to look like we've got some rounded off going, right? And this basically, I'm just kerfing the edge of the wood, which kerfing means cutting just within the blade width itself. And just like on the other side, kind of round it off to match this other shape. And then we come across there. And what I'm doing is I'm lowering and lowering this line right here. As it slowly curves over, this straight line will drop down. Once that kerf line drops all the way down to the middle, then I've reached where I turn a piece of wood over and do the same thing from the other side, right? So, you come back up here, refine my shape a little bit better, real nice and easy. And I'm telling y'all, this is some redneck stuff. Y'all want to be careful doing things the way I do things. Alright, let me slow down a little bit. And cut. I think I'm good. It's sounding nice and soft. Yeah, that feels good on that edge. So now I've got a decent shape going. I'm going to shave this down just a little bit more. In fact, let's come at it this way. If I can. I really don't want to hammer and make a bunch of noise. But I've got this one high spot right there. So, and slowly by slowly, this starts turning in to a nice handle at the end. And I don't have a lot of professional woodworking tools. I'm just not afraid to fail. So I'll try any old method that might work. Because at the end of the day, I know what results I'm after. So now, let's see, just about there. Let me get this last chunk out. Last little bit, that's it. That'll be. And cut. Then I'm going to come back to this saw one last time, and literally, I'm using the saw as a planer. So let me get my vise out of the way. There we go. Now, I'm holding my hand, holding my hand behind this saw, and I'm controlling a really sharp angle, and I'm turning my saw into a planer, right? So, no machines, no electricity, not that big of a deal. Don't forget, we've got this. It comes around on the side as well. And we'll have a real cut. Now, it feels a little rough, but the shape is right. So now that we've gotten that side done, now we'll flip it over. Oh, I'll hold a piece of wood up. My vise is like 20 feet away from where I'm working. Let's get that up on there a little farther. Alright, just 1 second, folks. We gotta reposition the whole vise situation. It's getting old. Alright, let's try there. That's probably a good position on the vise. Now, we're just there. So, we've done all this to the other side, and I did it the hard way. And so this time, like I said, I put my hand down flat, and I move up into, we're just barely rounding off this edge, trying not to use power tools. So what I'm going to do, when you cut a piece of wood that's exactly just one blade width wide, that's called a kerf. And what that does is it creates a straight line that drops down and down and down until you see that straight line down at the center, which is the center line of where I matched up from the other side, right? So now, this edge here, will move downward as I round it over, because I'm going to be real careful keeping this saw nice and steady. And really all I'm doing is cutting the corner out of the wood, because it's an end grain and it's a pain in the butt. And I wish I could show y'all more up close. Let's get more up close and personal with it. So you can barely see that line of wood sticking out at the end, right? That's that fine edge that I'm riding against. And you want to make sure, because it curves off at this end and it curves off back over on this end. So you want to make sure that you're also addressing that, right? And I mean, yeah, this is pine, and if it was really hard wood, you would just have to use a little bit more elbow grease. It really wouldn't change that. So now I'm going to approach this straight edge up to my kerf and slowly move that kerf down to the center line, right? Keep shaving off the top, slowly by slowly. And I keep increasing my angle with my hand as I go. And so you can take a nice squared off piece of lumber, and in a real short period of time, you've got a nice handle. So now that I've dropped over the edge here, we're gonna plane that out just a little bit more, because there's gonna be tape over here, and I've got some sandpaper. We'll smooth it out later. But I just want to drop over the edge there, and I just want to drop over the edge there. Okay, now I'm going to come back in and I'm going to kerf this down over the edge, and we'll be set. That'll be a nice rounded off handle without taking too much material out of the wood, right? This is like the least amount of material that I could remove. Without actually cutting the piece of lumber. Okay, so I've got a nice rounded off shape coming from both sides. And now I'm just going to draw this back a little bit. Okay, now we're ready to deal with the long grain section, which is just so much easier. So I have a line that starts way up here, and this is the width of my hand is what that line denotates. So just like we did with everything else, well, I took a big chunk out, didn't I? Let me go over to this side before I get into trouble. You just want to take the edge off of the lumber to make it a nice handle. That's all we're doing. Oh, I hit a knot over here. Oh, that's a bummer. We'll have to carve our way through this knot slowly by slowly. Okay. I will slowly bring that around and walk it over the edge. Just like walking over the edge of a cliff. And now, since we already did the other side, you can continue that same motion and curve all the way around as you go. Now, I'm sure there's some YouTube tutorial out there that shows some proper method of making a handle or an axe handle or something. But this is how most people, this is all the few tools that they really have. People don't have a bunch of woodworking tools and don't really care about the math of things. They just want something functional, right? That's my people. And so now up here, it's like I might have to flip that over and get that edge one more time. Now I have a nice hand-friendly, rounded over, splinter-free handle. That's really all I wanted. So I'm going to smooth that down or rough it up, however you want to look at it. Prepare the surface for the next step. Okay, and notice I'm just keeping that nice angle because I don't want to cut in. I'm merely rounding off. And watch how I draw, and I keep the exact same part of the saw connected, right? This will help things look better aesthetically, and it'll help with your lines, right? Notice how I stay connected to the surface, right? Oh, see, that's where that gouge is, where that knot is. So, okay, we're going to flip that over one more time. All right, and then we're just going to halfway, just barely, because this is the side we started on. It's already good to go. And all I'm doing is kind of rounding off the really high spots, like I did with the other side, right? Keep that same part of the blade connected, the same address of the blade, and move it around the wood, just like you did on the other side. Okay, I'm really liking that. That's a nice rounded over edge, and it's ready for a little tape on there. Well, it looks like there's another little spot on the bottom. Let me fix that. Just round that off. Round that little spot on the end off. There we go. And in a very short amount of time, now we've got a handle. Got a handle on it now, boss. I'm gonna grab the tape, which I thought, oh, there it is. All right. So if you give it a nice up close look, we've turned that piece of lumber, whoa, lost my image, into a nice rounded off handle, and we'll be able to use that push stick, because folks, it's a 5-mile long walk. And I'm trying to make my hands comfortable, because by the time I get there, I don't want to have arthritic hands when it's time to paddle 5 miles. You dig? All right. So all I'm really saying is this is totally worth my time. And about 1 second. Make a quick adjustment there. Okay. So all of this was just for the comfort of my hand and to save wear and tear on my actual paddle, because I don't want to use it for an external motor, right? So now all I'm going to do is take a small strip of foam, and it appears as though I have lost my scissors. So now, and now you'll understand why it doesn't matter that much how precise I was with my handle, right? Because what I'm doing, first of all, is cut this to the right width. And all I'm doing is I'm only taping padding on the very, very end. I don't want that whole thing because it'll make it a big wide grip, right? So I'm only putting the padding on the palm side of where I push it from. And that will make it comfy. So let me do that. And then we'll do that. Put that on the end there like that. Go ahead and push it in. Oh, pull that other side a little tighter. I guess I'm not going to sand it down. I guess that decision just got made for me, didn't it? Alright. Now, it's got a nice padding on my end. It's a good thing I'm about done because this and then we'll run this around here, and if it looks like I'm in slow motion, it's because I am pulling this tape as absolute butt crack tight as I could squeeze my sphincter out of it, because this tape will really last a long time if you really get some. Now it's got tension, it'll constantly be pulling on itself. Leave it to a redneck to have a taping technique. Right on. So we've made our handle, and it really does, it works this way in the palm of my hand. So I've got it padded out, and I'm just gonna put a little spiral of tape grip right here at the end. You know, like a tennis racket or some shit. And once again, you want to pull this real pucker tight. And you take it from a redneck. There are ways. There are ways. Oh, see, pulled too tight, but that's okay. Overlap it. This section really is just for the grip aspect of it. There we go. Oh, that was the end of that little section. It's a good thing I used small bits. All right, now y'all ready to see this in practice? We've got spent about a half hour carving the end of this 8-foot long piece of lumber. Put some tape and some padding on the end so it'll feel nice in the hand. Got some little extra tape grip here in case I need to use two hands. And then 8 feet down here at the other end, we've got it padded nicely where it makes contact with my kayak. And this is the shuffleboard push end. More torque, more power. You're just in time to watch me use it. So, the whole reason for all of that is so I could stick that in there and I could walk easily like that. And then I've got my brakes on the back when it starts rolling downhill. And that's what's up. So, guys, thank you all for joining me. Just under an hour. We've made it real convenient. instead of using my kayak paddle in here, now I have a cheap replaceable piece of wood that I don't care about if it breaks. I don't care about what happens to it. All I care about is it's a drive shaft for the El Machina. See how that works? See, I think that's just right. I got that carved it out just nice on the end, and I put my palm there, and because I'm walking it's a 5-mile walk to the lake, and there are some huge hills that are like a mile long. So I think I've solved about as many problems as I can for this adventure today. And it's been about 51 minutes and 20 seconds. I was trying to go for an hour, but this project was so easy we were able to wrap it up real quick today. So let me double check and check my chats here real quick. Why is that there? Okay, right on. I don't know what happened. I pushed the wrong button trying to check the chat. I appreciate y'all for stopping by. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the 273 subscribers. The weather's been pretty chilly and rainy, but we're heading into a really nice, hopefully long and awesome outdoor season. I still have a lot of photographs from last year that I want to make into stained glass windows, and I'm about as prepared as I can be to go back out there this year. So I really got to get busy on production. My camera is all backed up with all kinds of awesome nature photos, flowers and stuff I want to make out of stained glass. So stick with me. We're going to run out to the wilderness. We're going to get all inspired about it. We're going to have a little adventure and go find these purple sheets. Here, check this out. I'll show you what this next adventure is all about. So these here, I have never seen them as purple and as beautiful. They're not iridized because they're younger, and I think maybe they, perished at just the right time in their life cycle. But they are some of the most beautiful purple zebra mussels that I've ever seen. And so when I found these, there was 3 other ones that I left on the shoreline, intending to come back for later because I just felt like I had too much stuff in my kayak. And so this whole next adventure is all centered around, it's rained so much and I'm worried that where I put the rest of these on the shoreline is now underwater. I may have missed my opportunity to go back for more of these absolutely beautiful purple iridized shells. They are so pretty this year. I've never seen them in such a beautiful color before. So, and the camera is not even really doing them justice. They are really super purple in real life. So that's what all this is about, getting out there into the wilderness, getting some pictures, getting some alone time, getting out in the open water, in the ocean breeze, in the ocean, big lake, little rivers and creeks. I'm in turtle and beaver territory, so I'm having a good old time with that. So I hope you all join me next time. Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for all the likes and subs, and we'll see you next time.